In a recent Facebook post, a disgruntled colleague of mine posted this question: why am I seeing so much stuff about UU Lent all over the place this year? Is that not misappropriation? Many of the atheists in the thread, well, first let me say, this colleague posted and over 100 people have now commented. And as usual, Unitarian Universalists have a lot of opinions, and we will take as much space and time and energy as necessary to tell you exactly what we think. Many of the atheists in the thread were unbothered, noting that Jesus' life was a good example of how to live in the world. Jesus was a decent person, and we should all read more stories about examples of good character. Non-theists in the thread debated about it not being misappropriation, but rather proper appropriation, because a lot of our cultural heritage, from pulpits to sermons to stoles to offertory baskets to blessings to liturgical years, chalices, fire, many of these practices came from our Protestant roots. Earth-centered folks named really this entire thing was about a change in the season. The word Lent had an etymology of previously being Lenten, which just means spring, and that death and resurrection happen several times a year, and you can just look to nature. Lent is about growing closer to our own gods, or God, or whatever you follow, the Spirit, one another. And Lent might feel especially insulting this year because we are rounding out year 2 of COVID and deciding yet again when and for how long we will meet together. And on that note, a special shout out to our tech team that has pivoted quickly to ensure we still had a way to meet together, albeit over screens. And every Sunday and throughout the week, they deal with all of these changes that we say, can you do this slide here and can you do that there? And they are holding us together, so thank you. And the exhaustion extends beyond Zoom and YouTube. It is so hard to live in an environment where healthcare is reduced to GoFundMe accounts online because the deductible is no longer affordable, or the surgery desperately needed is not covered. Where Black, Indigenous, and people of color and trans and non-binary people have to live in fear about our daily existence. Where people in Europe are fighting for their lives as families are being torn apart in war, and the risk of nuclear threat feels like it is right around the corner. Where we witness hundreds of thousands of deaths because science was crucified in the name of yet another political war, and where we once again question CDC practices as we are again reminded that we are a religious community, and protecting one another remains at the forefront of all of our decisions and gathering together today, tomorrow, the days that follow. Jesus, whether we think of him as a God, a man, a friend, or some person without much connection to us at all, did in fact have to leave everything behind for 40 days to grow in his faith and grow as a man. But I think what is most remarkable about Lent is not Jesus' fight with the devil, not his sacrifices, but the time with himself, alone and away from everyone. This was the spark that set his ministry afire and in motion. It was after this time alone and slowing down, he was able to finally see the forest for the trees. Jesus came down from the mountain, and thus his ministry began. Likewise, COVID forced us into a kind of prolonged Lent. We were separated, isolated, and alone, and people are wired for connection, so this was hard on all of us in so many different ways. This time away from each other really did a number on our psyches and our nervous systems, and this time maybe we learned a few things about ourselves, what was important, how we are choosing to spend our time, how we will receive and give resources so we can survive in the future, and perhaps most importantly, the value of a human life. And the value of a life is something only we can know for ourselves. This is not the work of your community, family, friends, or even your religious affiliation to do. The work of knowing who you are and what you need in your life most at this time is something only you can know. If you feel trapped, maybe it is time to change something in your life, a new job, a new relationship, a new adventure somewhere. Saying no to how your life was will allow you the space and room to say yes to something else. We can and should do this evaluative work in our congregation too. Are we spending too much time and resources on something that is causing pain? Should we let go of the old ways which weren't serving us in search of something new, different, perhaps better? COVID is an opportunity for us to really live into our mission and our covenant and make changes and updates as necessary. Do our policies and bylaws reflect a welcoming environment in which we have a shared ministry platform where members feel heard and seen and where leadership feels empowered and trusted to do the hard work? Are we co-creating Unitarian Universalism, or are we cultivating the work of a glorified book club? Letting go is a spiritual practice I have found even more challenging than giving up. It requires courageous honesty with oneself as well as determination, because letting go is not a one-time only and it's done kind of practice. It involves discipline and fellowship in the process. It seems to me when he was tempted in the desert, Jesus was letting go more than giving up. He was letting go of the possibilities put before him of supreme power, self-sufficiency, adulation, and wealth. Letting go is about not grasping, not holding onto. It is about opening our clenched fist and beginning to be more open and feeling ourselves let go. As we continue deeper into Lent, I wonder what it is that we might want or need to let go of. What is it that you are grasping tightly that is actually inhibiting who you are as a person? Is it attachment to a particular possession or person or assumption? Is it an investment in a particular image of ourselves or understanding of the church, of the congregation? Or is it something else entirely? The work we will do together will move at the speed of trust. Know that you are held here in this place and that your joys and your concerns matter, that you matter, and that we are building a beloved community that lives our Unitarian Universalist values in all that we do. We cannot do this work alone, and it requires honesty about time, commitment, and desire to do better. After you have spent time with yourself taking an inventory, and after you re-enter into this community with whatever you figured out, how will you serve St. Gabriel differently this year? What time and talent do you have that you're ready and willing to give? Lent is about renewal. Let us be renewed here, now, and with one another.